resolve the main. That was the issue. 90% of your problems that you create in class, I can solve with these two commands. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you how to move the BDC, the infrastructure master, and the RIB. So you have to do two things. Either sign into the domain controller you want to move them to, or another DC1. Or I'm on DC1 now, go to Active Directory Users and Computers. Or connect to the DC you want to move it to. You have two choices: sign into the DC where you want to move that role to, or connect to the DC where you want to move that role to. So right now, by default, I'm connecting to DC1. So I can right-click this, change domain controllers, and connect to any DC I want. So right now, I want to connect to DC2. So now I'm connected to DC2. I'm going to highlight the domain and go to Operations Master. And I can move any of these roles to DC2. Infrastructure Master is already there. Guys, if you have multiple DCs, you want to move them. You don't want everything in one DC. If it goes down, you're screwed. So you can try to move them to, spread them around. Keep in mind that I don't want to move my PDC to some box in some remote satellite site with the ISDN line. I want to make sure that's on a fast link. This RIG, I would try to keep it on a relatively fast link. The infrastructure master, highly available. So be very careful where you move these ones at. So guys, let's just move the RIG to DC2. Or we can move it, if we wanted to, we could right click, connect to 5, and move it over to 5 if we want. So right now I'm going to move the RIG to DC5. Click change, yes, and it moves it.
Why are we on moving?
I'm just showing you how to move it. I'm not showing you necessarily where to move it, just how to go through the procedure of moving it. Guys, if a master role, the operation master role is on a DC that is unrecoverable or crashed and there's no way to recover it, you can always manually seize a role using a PowerShell script or a command line thing to do. If you do that, it's going to take some time to rebuild. So if you do lose a DC with the master role on it, you have alternatives of seizing that role. So guys, this is how you would move the RIG, PDC, or infrastructure master. Now I'm going to go show you how to move the domain naming master. Go to Tools, Domains and Trust. Now, the other utility, we had to right-click here to go to Operation Master. Well, that's not the case here. It's here. So let's say I want to move this to DC6, just to spread it around. Change Active Directory domain controllers. Listen, I can move this to any DC in any domain I wanted. It doesn't matter. So if I wanted to move it to DC4 on the west side, or DC7 on the east side, I can do that. I just got to choose which domain I want to go to. So let me just choose 7. It doesn't really matter where.
Mine is on child, so like.
That's fine, you can do it to 7. It doesn't have to be a child. So I'm connected to the child DC. I go Operation Master and click Change. Now it moves it to 7. It's not very difficult to move it. Now I'm gonna do the last one. Keep in mind, guys, you might wanna move, the one off of DC three, you know, you might wanna move these two. I'm just showing you how to move the ones in the parent domain. You might wanna move the ones in the child domain too. I'm currently connected to my schema master, which is on DC one. Let's say I wanted to move that to DC six. The only problem is, I don't have any tool to move it. Do you notice how all these tools are kind of similar? There's a left pane and a right pane. That's because when I open this up, and I right click and go to Task Manager, what I'm really running is something called the Microsoft Management Console. Right here. And I'm doing it with a customized snap-in pin. So I can create my own snap-ins. I can create my own consoles. So what I'm gonna do is click on Start and type mmc.exe. And then launch it. Now here's a blank console with no snap-ins. I can add any snap-in that I wanted. Just click on File, add remove snap-ins. If I wanted one utility that had sites and services and users and computers, I can do that. When I click OK, I can see one snap-in, one console now with everything in it. If I wanted to, I could save that to my desktop. When I go in and try to add, remove snap-ins, and I look for the schema master, it's not here. The reason being is Microsoft doesn't load the DLL. What does the extension DLL stand for?
Dynamic library.
Dynamic Link Library. It's basically a library. When you call a function from it, it does that function. So we manually have to load it into memory. This will definitely be a test question. I haven't had one student ever say they didn't get this question. They don't mention it other than on page 20, and every time they release this book, it's always on a little sidebar. It's right here on page 20. To get this snap-in, again, they don't want you to play with this utility because it's dangerous. They want you to open up a command prompt, admin command prompt, and run this. I'm going to change my font so you can see it. You will have to memorize that command for the test. Think of it this way. Red Surf 32 register services. Load something into memory. Schema management.
Certification.
I'm sorry?
He was asking for which test that we need to know this.
Yeah, for the certification exam. So now, are we good? So now when I go into my console and do add remove snap-ins, I'll now have the schema snap it. Move it over to the right and click OK. If you want, save it, so it's on your desktop. Now, who does it automatically connect me to? DC1, because that's my schema. Last year. Want me to go back to that, Chris?
I have a picture.
Okay.
So, yeah, it didn't say.
What's the
You have to change it.
I'm sorry?
What is the beginning of, it just says scheme?
Yes. Give me 1 second, Chris. Look, add remove snapping, and it's going to say Active Directory schema. There, Chris. Did you run this command?
Oh,
Did you come up with it?
I'm getting an error.
Okay. But I really, what were we talking about? I really, having rights. The problem with you, I think, that might be a problem, but also. Are you on DC one?
No, that's,
Well, no, because I'm only one set away. Run that command, so it'll be right here. Oh, well, I can handle that. It only takes 2 seconds. I'd rather not lose you, but. That's it. Okay, run that command.
I got it.
Okay. Did you read me all? Yeah, I just did. You have a connectivity problem somewhere. Somewhere there's a connectivity problem. Yeah. Okay. All right, click on file. Add moves nothing. Choose schema. Now let's choose schema. Choose circuit services. Okay. Okay, so basically all we did is register the DLL and create a custom host.
You know, you have a command. I'm good.
Okay, and guys, on page 22, the exact steps are right there in the book. tells you how to run the MMC console, everything that you need to do. They leave out to run that command other than the note on the side. So 22, when it tells you how to transfer the schema master, you have to have done the note over here first. You even have screenshots of the MMC console. So what we're doing is exactly from the book. Okay, so I'm gonna close this out. Guys, I saved this to my desktop. And I wanna move this, let's just say I wanna move it to DC5. So right now, it automatically connects me to my schema master, which is DC1. So I'm gonna change domain controllers and grab 5. And it says, wait a second, why do you want to connect to 5 when that's not your schema master? Then we're going to right click and go to operations master. So I connect it to 5, where I want to move it to, and go to operations master, and then click change. And now I've transferred that role. If I close it out and go to my console again, where does it connect me to? It connects me to my schema master. Okay. Now we move it. Close this out. Yes. Go back in. Now I'm back to connection. So, right click, connect to. Right click, connect to the top, right. What, connect to the DC, roll the move to it, go on to 5. Give you a warning, says why you want to connect to 5, that's not your schema master. That's fine, so right click, operation master, and click change. So move it from 1 to 5. Yes. Now close this box out. And go back. Come here. Do one on this. Guys, you can do things like, once you create a custom console, and you want to give it to your employees, like your underlings, you can move it to user mode. So when it's user mode, they can't make changes to it. You know, so you can create a customized console, lock it down the way you want it, and they only have the tools that they need. They can't remove items or take items away. And you can also prevent them from saving changes, like, you know, that. So guys, I'm gonna save it and reopen it. And here's my customized console. Any tools that you need to give them. Okay. Guys, we're going to go back to chapter 6. Chapter chapter 6 is where we had sites and services, and we are going to play around with the first part of chapter 6, we're going to create trust. Guys, so we're back on chapter 6. So guys, let's assume that we have our forest. This will be the last slide that we do tonight, guys. We have our forest. In that forest, we have a bunch of domains. This is Contoso. Let's assume that we're going to buy a data. This is another corporation, we're going to buy it. Or maybe we're working on a project, whatever the case may be. You want me to pull something up, Charlie?
Yes, I'm just finished.
He's doing the command bar.
Okay. So there's another corporation, for whatever reason, whether we bought it or we're working together on a project, I need users from this forest to access resources from here and vice versa. When we created this child-parent relationship, we created something called a trust. Automatically, if it happens, we don't need to do anything special.